a separate arm, he can decide to say, look, I am not coming. But tell me which speaker will tell a governor in Nigeria today that I am not coming. The next thing, he will just call the chairman of the party and say, look, impeach him. So the system is there. But you see, the governors and Mr. President are holding on so much power. After God, they are next. A man who controls the purse controls the livelihood of everybody under him. So what do? What I'm saying that, look, we have tested the two. Today, there is no governor in the 36 states that has built a housing estate again. Maybe Rochas Okorocha is doing it now in Imo State, and I give kudos to him. Maybe what you people advertise on him are not true, but what I see on television about his progress within 2 years, and I know his background. I know what he has done in Jos, in Plateau State, even before he became a politician. So I think he has a track record. But tell me, where do you have, outside Jakonde's housing estate, outside of Tetola's, how many estates have we got within the past 30 years? Nothing. The problem is this: 80% of money being generated by state governments and the Nigerian government are spent on maintaining the system of governance. I was joking with President Obasanjo. I took my junior lawyers to his house, and I said, look, Mr. President, you caused this rot in Nigeria, where a senator today has unlimited access to funds and allowances. Fortunately, that day, there were 2 senators in his inner room. He rushed outside. This was in the presence of my junior lawyers, about 8 of them. He rushed inside and called the 2 senators there. Come and hear what Chief Clarke is saying. I've told you. He said, look, Chief Clarke, do you know it costs Nigeria 240 million a year to maintain 1 senator? 14 million a year. He told me in the presence of my junior lawyers, and asked these 2 senators. He said, I said, because, Mr. President, you caused it. I told him. He said, no. When I started it, it was 1 million. But it has gone to, and he was still just a year or 2 after when he left the presidency. So you can see that 80%, and that is why we cannot have any infrastructure. But I give kudos to Jonathan today. Now, the railway from Kano to Lagos, Lagos to Kano is now working. When we were students in the CMS Grammar School in Lagos, we are always happy to go on holidays back to the north, because the trains are there. We have what we call the students' train. Late Professor Awojobi, myself, Balamila, we pack ourselves in there. We enjoy. But I'm happy now. There is a silent development coming into Nigeria now. I know the light rail train too from Abuja to Kaduna is almost nearing completion. Now there is light in the tunnel.
You know, when we talk about leaders, you know, a whole lot has been entrusted to younger persons, the way you analyze it from, I'm even amazed that even pre-independence.
Pre-independence.
Yes, which is the truth, reminding us of all of that. But now, it's not as if we still don't have them in different places, whether elective offices or appointed. But the thing is, what hindrance do they actually encounter in delivering some of these tasks given to them? There's a question here. It's not as if we had morons somewhere. These are people with track records. How come when they finally come in, they can't perform?
Let me tell you this. Have you heard what the PDP in Anambra is asking for candidates who want to contest for governorship election to pick up a form? I think it's 10 million or 20 million. Just to pick the form that you want to contest an election.
For the male counterpart, the female is 5 million.
So it's not
now you see the starting. Now, to be able to contest, to win nomination, I am told the candidate will have spent about 400 million. Now, to now campaign and win an election, he or she will have spent about 500 million or 1 billion. Where have they gotten the money from? Definitely, they are spending this money as a form of investment. That when I get to that post as governor, since I have unlimited access to funds, my first thing is to recoup my money. Those who sponsor people, look at what happened to Ngige. The Mba brothers sponsored him. And when he got there, they said, give us our money back. Sign a check for 1 billion. That was what caused the problem. And the same thing is happening till today. So you find the reason why governors cannot perform is that they are hooked to a caucus that must have spent money on them. And we have shown how this money,
But what do you think now that, APC has been registered, and then there's this banter going on between APC, PDP, bickering about who will become what eventually, and then people are also joining in that for it. But from your perspective, looking at these comments coming from both parties, attacking, some say personalities, others say, no, it's just stating my opinion. Where do you think all this is headed?
Okay. Interestingly, I was the sole counsel to NRC during the Babangida regime when Nigeria had a two-party system. Many people wondered why Abiola's election was the clearest election. The kudos is not to the electoral body that conducted it. The kudos is to IBB, who decided that Nigeria should only have two political parties. You see, your greatest enemy in politics is in your party. It's not in the other party. The greatest enemy of Jonathan today is in PDP. The greatest enemy of Tuko today is in PDP, not in AP or whatever it is. Now, if Nigeria had two political parties, and we have seen the result, NRC and SDP, and came out with a credible election, because people of the same bedfellows will not find themselves. The Oyibo man says, birds of the same feather congregate. But when you have a two-party system, different characters are forced by law to congregate together. Now, it's coming out in Nigeria now. A new formidable party is coming out. And I believe it's going to make Nigeria better, because there will be two strong political parties now, so that you don't take things for granted. You don't play on ethnicity again.
But again, even like in the United States, a lot of people don't even know that they have more political parties.
Yes.
But we have two dominant parties, that the Democrats and the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. If you look at what happened in Nigeria then within the Action Congress,
Yeah.
the Awolowo Party now, Action Group. Yeah, I remember that they had an action in it. Action Group, and even the NCNC, as well as the Northern Party then.
NPC.
Yeah, NPC. So all these three, how do they play their parties, their politics rather, to the extent that what such comments Chamberlain was trying to bring to the fore didn't really come out? Because now what we see on a daily basis is comments that are likely to inflame the polity. So how did it operate? Now, that takes us to what we call ideologies. Do we have clear-cut ideologies with the parties as we have them today?
You see, in the pre-colonial days and early independent days, the three political parties were split under ethnic groups. Let us be fair. The Action Group was a Yoruba-dominated party. If the Action Group brings out a goat and says this is the person we want you to vote for in the West, they will vote for that goat. In the East, the NCNC was an Igbo party. Take it or leave it. In the North, the Southern was preaching one North. He was able to colonize and get one North because he made Hausa language the lingua franca in the North. So that, whereas in the West, a Yoruba man, you lock him in a room with an Edo man, with an Asaba man. The lingua franca they can say between themselves is the English language. If you go to the East then, you bring an Igbo man, you bring an Efik man, you bring an Ibibio man, you lock them in a room, start talking. The lingua franca will be English. Whereas in the North, Saldana was able to create where a TV man sits in a room, a Fulani man sits in a room, a Biro man sits in a room. Three of them will be speaking the Hausa language. They have a connection, that language. And that was the trick the Saldana used. So that he does not know, once you speak the Hausa language, you are his friend. And he made sure that the lingua franca in the primary schools